Members, let's resume our meeting. Thank you for attending our meeting. Altogether, we are going to spend 6 hours today. Mr. Chan Chi-chin, as I've mentioned in my German motion, there are some questions. I would like the Permanent Secretary to respond to those. If not today, then perhaps when you go to the FC. It said that the rough estimate in 2014 for the basement part was 23 billion, and the completion date would be at the time, or at the time of the estimation would be 2020. Perhaps today you can give us your latest estimate, your latest sum. Permanent Secretary, I've answered this question a number of times already. In 2014, we had this estimate for 3A3B. I think the figure is not far, not very far away from the current estimate. But now the uncertainty is a bit unclear. We need to drill more holes to before we can come up with the real estimate. So please, as far as possible, provide the information before the Finance Committee meeting. Many members have asked for supplementary information today. Please do it as far as possible before the Finance Committee meeting. I would like to manage time more flexibly, and I would like to handle this item within the coming 2 hours, and as many other items as possible. Ms. Tanya Chan. Sorry, I have a number of new questions. I can assure you that there are no repetitions. Dr. Yu, too. Well, I can manage time flexibly. Last time, for the first and second stage, there was a paper in 2015, and I have read it again. And of course, we have this supplementary document with 4 pages. That is 1112, and I've got some plans here. This is for the one from the CEDD in 2014. This one provided in 2015 for the first 2 stages. At that time, the funding was for 3A. So if you compare the 2015 map with the current one, you know that for some part of 3A, that is a remaining section. I believe that's the 90 meters, which is now subsumed in the current item. But if you look at the 2015 paper, that section was covered by the previous item. So is it because of budget overrun that you want to do it as part of the current item? And also there's the question about the foundation. In 2015, the description of the foundation was that it would be completed in one go for 3A. And now we have a remaining part of foundation work mentioned in the current item. So what has happened? Is it that on the last occasion you would like to complete phase 3, and then you need to complete the remaining work, or is it that because of budget overrun, the uncompleted part is described as remaining works in the current item? I'll ask Ms. Pang to respond to the questions. Thank you for your question. Ms. Chen, if you have the 2015 paper with you, in paragraph D1, we mentioned very clearly there would be a 140 meters of underground driveway. So if you look at the plan in Annex 1 or Enclosure 1, where you see the words Victoria Harbour, there's a blank, and we have not, we did not apply for any funding for the foundation there, as we have explained in this current paper, that at that time it was still used as a work site for the express rail link, and we don't know when. At that time, we didn't know when the site would be handed back to us. But now this has been returned to the WKCDA. That's why we have to carry out the remaining part of the foundation work. Well, perhaps you can ask your further questions since you have pressed the button. I don't want to stop you from raising valid questions. Sorry, I do not want to jump the queue. There's the red line. This is a Airport Express rail tunnel. This is the boundary of the integrated basement. But in the current item, this is the protection of the. This is described protection of the tunnel of AEL. This is very much like the lines in the more or less in the shape of the letter B. According to the description, some consolidation or work will be required. Ms. Pang? Yes, Ms. Pang will answer the question. The scope of the funding in the last item was set out in the paper. Paragraph 19A, we set out that the foundation of the driveway, the protection works, foundation, and for 3B at that time, we only obtained funding for the design and the tendering exercise. That's the advanced work for the first phase. And in C, we talk about the second phase and site investigation, including the underground driveway in the 3A, and also the protection work for the existing, the AEL tunnel. And then we also talk about the foundation, which is in enclosure, page 2 of enclosure 1. The hatch area is the foundation area, and near the harbor, for the part near the harbor, well, there was no application. We have more members joining, so as I've said, I will manage time flexibly. Mr. Hui Chi-fung, the first round, 4 minutes. This morning, many members asked questions about the question of apportioning costs for the basement project, but I still quite find some issues puzzling. And according to the previous paper, this integrated basement will be used by both the government and the WKCD, so that's why there was the proposal to apportion costs. So what prompted the government to change this funding approach or sharing approach? I think this has been answered already, but P.S., would you like to supplement? On the 3rd of July 2013, the former Chief Secretary for Administration submitted a paper to the subcommittee on West WKCD, and there's a paper, as this is not within the scope, and this is one of the reasons why the costs for WKCDA will be higher, and the government is prepared to pay for the full cost so as to support the development of WKCD. So at that meeting, the government indicated that it would be prepared to pay for the full cost of the basement project. I understand this is about reducing the financial burden of WKCDA. But of course, they have different financial burdens, and that could be cost overrun in different cases. And that's why the government would like to shoulder the cost for them. So how do you make the choice? Is it that you have money, so you help them? In respect of this basement project, my question is why? Why do you want to help them in respect of the basement project, but not others? Well, when the funding approval was granted for $21.6 billion, there was no basement covered in the scope, and the government didn't want the WKCDA to spend billions of dollars on this basement, so that the original funding can be used to the construction of cultural facilities, repair and maintenance, as well as to acquire exhibits for the Empress Museum. Do you think that it's appropriate for the government to financially help the WKCDA in such a way? Were there no alternatives in order not to increase the financial burden of WKCDA, and also to ensure that WKCDA would be spending the $21.6 billion on the purposes originally set out in the FC application? This is the only way. As I've said, and the idea of integrated basement was not even considered when the $21.6 billion was approved. So that's why we have come back to seek the FC's approval. Ms. Claudia Mo, first round, 4 minutes. Sorry, I didn't feel well this morning. I can hear from your voice a bit coarse. For area 3A, an underground driveway, 140 meters. I thought that it was part of a continuous stretch of driveway. Well, it doesn't add up because we are now asked to fund additionally another 90 meters. Do you need to be shown the map? I think the Permanent Secretary understands the question. P.S. Ask Ms. Pang to supplement. The underground driveway was 230 meters long when the first application was submitted. And in 2015, in July 2015, we sought $2.9 billion for a part, because it would also go all the way to 3B. And we said that when the design for 3B was finalized, we would seek further funding. So that's why today we want to seek funding for the purpose of building 90 meters of this underground driveway. Well, you didn't say that in the first place. At first it said that there will be a 140 meter underground driveway. There will be E&M facilities and fire escape routes, etc. So the impression given was that this part in the 3B would be the complete the entire one. I thought that the 140 meter would be all there would be.
據 應該都比較清晰咧，就話整個綜合地庫咧。
I think it's clear that the integrated basement is very large and it would be built in phases. So the connections would be completed in phases as well. You were talking about Zone 3B. I think this is not ideal. P.S. Can Ms. Pang please explain why this has to be done in 2 phases? Thank you very much. In our 2015 paper, in paragraph 5A, we explained clearly that there were remaining sections under Zone 3A. The reason was we understood the WKCD would be completed in phases. In order to support the art and culture facilities in Zone 3A, in 2015, the 140 meters of underground road must be connected in order to provide accessibility. And this section will connect to the underground road of Zone 3B. If it's operated independently, then this section is not required for Zone 3A. When it's commissioned at Zone 3B, it would be connected. So we did not seek advance funding from LegCo for the section in Zone 3B. That's why we did not seek funds for that section. And we acted out of goodwill, and we decided to seek funding in one go. So in paragraph 5A, we made it clear that there's a remaining section for which we will seek funds later. Chairman, I think you understand my point. I think such claims are unfair. They do not know whether we would approve 3B, so they would not go ahead. In 2015, you did not make yourself completely clear how much was left. And now you're saying that you said it before. It was just that we didn't pay attention. I think the project manager made herself very clear. We should understand that as far as works go, some parts might be interrelated or connected. Mr. Ronick Chan, 3 minutes. When I look at some motions moved under Rule 32A, as well as the comments this morning, a lot were about flow of traffic, parking lots, or the access to the car park at Zones 3 and 3B. In terms of pedestrian access, I understand that there will be a bridge from Kowloon Station leading to WKCD, but from Austin Station or TST, if 2A, 2B, 2C are not completed, we might be looking at an empty construction site. So I would like to know the pedestrian arrangements. And as we said this morning, for the 3B section, it's above the Airport Express station, so the design cannot be changed. We have to make sure that the Airport Express would not be affected. The 3B basement is quite complicated. There are 3 to 4 levels of work. Can the government explain how the construction would not affect the operation of the Airport Express? P.S. We mentioned that there will be a bridge from Kowloon Station to the M Plus Museum and Artist Square, and we will come back later for funds for that bridge. And there are multiple pedestrian access at West Kowloon. First of all, Austin West Station, between Austin West Station and Sishu Center, in the next legislative year, we will apply for funds for a tunnel. And this way, the passengers from the MTR station can enter Sishu Center. there would be a footbridge connecting Siju Center and Kowloon Park, the ferry pier, etc. So visitors can arrive at West Kowloon from Tsim Sha Tsui. The levels of work under 3B, Zone 3B. The construction must take place without affecting the operation of the Airport Express. Ms. Pang? Thank you very much. We are very careful with the towards the possible issue of sedimentation. We will build horizontal frames to support the soil to avoid undesirable sedimentation. So in terms of the design, we will make sure that the support would be appropriate, or the supporting frames would be appropriate, and that they would be safe. Dr. Fernando Chang, fifth round, 1 minute. Chairman, I do not understand why you drew the line. I was at another meeting. I wanted to speak there. That's all right. I can offer some flexibility. The meeting will last till 7 p.m. I don't know why you drew the line so early. We have to deal with emotions under 32A. That's why. Chairman. For the basement, I don't know why Zone B coincides with the alignment of the Airport Express tunnels. According to your plan, the for the underground road, or the area in green, the works at Zone 3A would inevitably coincide with the Airport Express tunnels, but for Zone 3B, it's not necessary. If you shrink the area of the basement under Zone 3B, as Mr. Ronnick Chan said, it would not clash with the Airport Express tunnels. So can we shrink the area of the basement in Zone 3B so that you won't face so much technical and safety constraints, and that way you might be able to reduce the costs? I believe the intention is to connect the different building clusters. So PS or project manager, Ms. Fang, please. Thank you very much. The we are trying to comply with the plans, and on page 1, we did not want to impose a load on the Airport Express line tunnels. That's why we had to build support for the Lyric Theatre complex. The construction must continue, and this is in line with the development plan of West Kowloon. So we came up with engineering design to overcome these constraints. She didn't answer the question. I'm not referring to the topside development. I'm talking about the basement. The funding is for the basement. For the basement, with the exception of the Lyric Theatre complex, which would slightly coincide with the Airport Express line, the underground roads can avoid the AE lines altogether. If you shrink the basement, you can reduce costs, and you can avoid safety issues or the need for supporting frames. I think what Dr. Chung meant was that these buildings are connected. That's why to the north of the Lyric Theatre complex, the the buildings should be connected. I think that's what he meant. I would allow you to follow up on that. For top-sided developments, of course, you have to reinforce the structures and minimize the interference with the AE lines. I'm referring to the basement. They are using the basement to connect the buildings. Is that right? The positions of the buildings were approved by EXCO in 2013, so the positions could not be changed. Under the 3.6 billion funding, about 200 million would be used for the protection works for the AE tunnels, so we are trying to minimize the impacts on AE operation. As you can see, the AE alignment is located at the corners of the development, so the protection works will cost about $200 million. Mr. Ben Chen, first round, 4 minutes. I have 2 questions. Zone 3B is largely located at the Airport Express site, so would any excavation be needed? If not, is there a need for protection works of the Airport Express line? For the underground roads, there's an exit earmarked. There's an exit to the north of the roundabout. So where would that exit lead? And as for the box culvert, the express rail line will transfer the site to WKCD. So would the box culvert be built by under the XLL project? Ms. Pang, thank you. The protection works for Airport Express consists of trusses and the enclosure has marked its location, and it's used to shoulder the load so that no pressure would be imposed on the AE tunnels. So in terms of design, we hope that there won't be any loading on the tunnels. As for the exit towards the north, it will lead to a future car park of the WKCDA. An exit has been earmarked to connect to the future car park. What about the box culvert, Ms. Pang? For the box culvert, it will be used to collect stormwater at Austin Road West, and the stormwater would be discharged to the sea. So we are merely trying to collect water from the upper stream for discharge into the sea. And is any excavation needed at this site? Ms. Pang? Since we are to build a basement, excavation would be needed. As we said, we have B1, B1M, and B2 levels, so excavation would be needed. Chairman, I understand that excavation is needed. For the XRL station or project, we knew that the soil conditions were strange, and there's even a seawall. So would these be considered in the excavation works? Thank you very much. Before we carry out the works, we would take reference from existing information on the geological conditions, and there would be additional investigations. a more recent project is M plus instead of XRL. The basement works have started, and at Zone 3B, we also set up pillars, and that's why we had a grasp of the underground conditions.
朱凱廸議員啊，第六次一分。
So Chu will take the 6th round, 1 minute, to save time. I have changed the 32A the motion into into questions because a number of them are about information, provision of information. First, I hope the Bureau can provide us with the full TIA, especially the part related to the basement. Can this be done? Yes. All right, we can delete this 32A motion. Secondly, this morning we referred to the map showing the basement and the driveway, and members asked they said that they didn't know where the parking spaces will be. Well, they already promised to provide that, so I can delete this one. In 2008, a shuttle service was proposed, and now you have a scaled-down version. Do you have any project brief and so on and so forth for that shuttle service? I have a study report that I can show you. I can also let you know the model that we are trying out. Perhaps a visit can be arranged. Yes, let's try to use the shuttle train. Yes, so this one can be deleted. And also, according to the PS, in 2008, in the scope of work, there are A, B, C, D. The government has indicated that those have been followed. I would like to have a progress list on how the funding for those parts have been expended so far. I can provide the information. As I've said, 32A motions are not the proper means to solicit information. I think you can put questions to the officials, and the officials have a duty to respond, and they have promised to provide certain information already. I thank Mr. Chu, so we can cut the number of 32A motions. Dr. Everyu, the 8th round. I've drawn a line, so I'm ready to be flexible in managing time. If we trace what has happened in the past 2 years, it seems that in terms of procurement, there have been cases of serious conflict of interest. If we look at one of the old papers, in respect of the design fee for 3B, the paper said that because of the slow process of approval in this council, so a special approach was adopted. That is, the WKCD endowment fund was used. So it was advanced by WKCD-A for the design of 3B. But you did not ask the consultant to do it, and then WKCDA did it, earning $29.7 million, and now they've come up with a tendering document for 3B. Last time you said that there would be no management fee, no internal management fee, and now under the current proposal, there will be internal management fee, and there will also be consultancy fee. So they will be getting both. So this is really quite unusual as far as conflict of interest goes. Permanent Secretary, I can ask my colleague from WKCDA to explain. Every time when we say that we entrust a project to them, we would always, first of all, report the matter to the subcommittee on WKCD before we ask them to do it. And the WKCDA has also engaged consultants for this purpose. Maybe I can ask Jeremy to supplement.
好，請阿司徒澤明先生，Jeremy。
Yeah, the 3B design to which the member refers is designed by the consultant during the design phase, which we have appointed, and they're responsible for the basement, the lyric theatre, and everything in the zone 3B. When it comes to construction, we have another consultant which looks after the contract administration when we appoint a contractor.
嗱，你今朝好清楚答我㗎嘛？係由西九管理局負。
This morning, the answer was clear. The WKCDA would be responsible for supervising the tendering exercise, and in this, $29.7 million was involved. So you commission yourself to come up with the tendering document. Who drafted the tendering document? This morning we were told that it's WKCDA. Let me clarify a point here. In 2015, the third-party fee would be for the engagement of a consultant to prepare the tendering document. And the authority had a duty to make sure that the consultant's work was to our satisfaction and that the requirements are met. So there's some supervision required on the part of WKCDA. Last time they did not ask for any management fee, and they did not get any management fee in respect of the tender document, because we were informed that they would be doing their own preparation of a tender document, so there would be a synergy. So who ultimately prepared the current tender document that we are seeing now? It was drafted by the consultant. But the WKCDA still had to look at the clauses to see that those are appropriate for the client before the actual tendering exercise. I think that has been explained. Dr. Yu, maybe you can follow up the matter after our meeting. Let's deal with 32A motions. The first one is from Mr. Chen Chi-Chin. Please project the wording onto the screen. Mr. Chen, would you like to sound the bell? Ms. Chen Chen-Ying asked for this. Of course, there are more of us. I won't ask for the bell to be sound. In accordance with paragraph 32A of the rules of PWSC, I move the motion to the effect that since the integrated basement is an integral part of WKCD, if it's not completed in good time, the WKCD will not be able to function properly. This subcommittee required the WKCDA to complete the engineering work of the integrated basement in good time, and then there should be a penalty imposed on the contractor. If they cannot complete this in time, they have to pay a fine of no less than $30 million in order that we can ensure timely completion. Yes, we have a 32A motion to deal with because some members have retracted a few.
各位而家要投票嘅咧。
Members, we are about to vote on this motion that you can see on the screen, and that is a motion moved by Mr. Chan Chi-chin according to rule paragraph 32A of our rules.
總共係有7條 32A 嘅。
Altogether, we have 7 motions under paragraph 32A of our rules.
好，而家係進行表決。喺我
All right, voting begins. Before I declare the voting is closed, please check your votes. Voting is closed and the result is now displayed. Present 37, 15 for, 21 against, no abstention. The motion is negative. 002 again is moved by Mr. Chan Chi-chin. I claim a division for this one. In accordance with paragraph 32A of the rules of PWSC, I move that in view of the provision of $640 million for price adjustment for this integrated basement project, and also $268 million on contingency. In view of past experience and the government's past ability to explain where the money has gone, we would like to ask the government, the WKCDA, to report every 6 months to this council on how the money with regard to price adjustment and contingency have been expended in order to ensure proper utilization of funds approved by LegCo.
而家要表決咧，就係陳志全議員啦。而家熒光幕。
We now proceed to the vote, and we are dealing with the motion moved without notice by Mr. Ray Chen, 002.
好，而家進行表決喺我。
We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the result, please check your vote. Voting's closed. The results are shown. 38 present, 14 for, 23 against, no abstention. The motion is negatived. The next motion, 003, also by Mr. Ray Chen. The bell will ring for 5 minutes. According to Rule 32A of the PWSC procedure, since the integrated basement as WKCD will be fully built by the WKCD authority and become part of the cultural district, the government did not explain that in case of a budget overrun, whether the additional project costs will be borne by the authority. We request that the government must explain to the authority that in case of budget overruns for the integrated basement, the government will not shoulder the additional works costs.
各位而家要表決嘅咧就
We are voting on the motion shown moved by Mr. Ray Chan under Rule 37A. And we are looking at motion number 3. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the result, please check your vote. Mr. Wuchiwai. Voting is closed. The results are shown. 39 present, 15 for, 23 against, no abstention. It's negatived. Motion 004 also by Mr. Ray Chan. Do you request a division? Yes. This is the last of my motions. According to Rule 32A of the PWSC procedure, since the West Kowloon Cultural District integrated basement will be fully built by the West Kowloon District Authority and become part of the Cultural District, the authority should shoulder all works costs. However, currently the government has to pay substantial works management fees to the authority, and as such, we request that the government should not pay $60.3 million in internal management fees to the authority to make sure that public money is put into good use.
各位，我哋處理咗呢一條32A，係跟住仲。
Members, apart from this 32A motion, we still have 3 more. Let's proceed to vote. Before I declare voting is closed, please check your votes. Voting is closed and the result displayed. 38 present, 13 for, 24 against, no abstention. The motion is negatived. 005 from Dr. Everett Yu. Dr. Yu, do you claim a division? The bell will be rung for 5 minutes. I move that the government should restrict the total management fee for this project, including the internal management fee for WKCTA as well as consultants' management fee, to not more than 2% of the total project cost.
剩低仲有2條係朱海。
We have 2 more from Mr. Chu Hoi Teck.
現在進行表決。
Let's proceed to vote. Before I declare the voting is closed, please check your votes, members. Voting is closed and the result displayed. 37 present, 14 for, 22 against, no abstention. The motion is negative. The next motion is moved by Mr. Chu Hoi-dik. 006. Do you claim a division, Mr. Chu? Yes. In accordance with paragraph 32A of the rules of PWSC, I move that the government should, before submitting the item to the FC, provide information on the rough estimate of revenue that will be attributed to the WKCD aid under the enhanced financial arrangement through the granting of development rights.
現在進行表。
Please proceed to vote. Before I declare voting is closed, members, please check your votes. Voting is closed, and the result displayed. 39 present, 15 for, 23 against, no abstention. The motion is negative. The last one, 009, again moved by Mr. Chu Hoi-tek. You claim a division, I suppose. The bell will be sounded for 5 minutes. Thank you. In accordance with paragraph 32A of the rules of PWSC, I move that in view of the completion of the statutory EIA for WKCD in 2013 and the statutory air quality indicators were updated in 2014 and will be further updated in 2019 and 2024. This subcommittee asks that the government should and the WKCD and the WKCDA should explain whether there will be any mitigation measures to ensure that the air quality will not exceed the future standards.
現在進行表決，喺我宣布。
We now proceed to the vote. Before the voting is closed, please check your vote.
現在停止表決。
Voting is closed. The results are shown. 42 present, 17 for, 24 against, no abstention. The item is negatived. So we have dealt with all motions moved under Rule 32A. If members have no further questions, I will put this item to the vote. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong requests a division. The bell will be rung for 5 minutes.
係。對唔住左你。
Dr. An Chang, what was your question? Is this the final meeting of the term? We still have a lot of items, so we have about 40 minutes left. So what would happen? So perhaps we will see a miracle and all the items can be passed within 40 minutes.
後補，黃標雲嗰啲要求嘅後補。
We can provide it later.
蔣麗芸議員因為咧
Dr. An Chang, as I understand, there are a number of government projects which have not even been included on the agenda, and we need extra meetings at the Finance Committee because a lot of items are yet to be passed by the FC. So even if I introduce extra meetings, time is very limited because we need extra meetings at the FC as well.
希望大家掌握剩低嘅時間。
Let's make the best use of the remaining time in this final PWSC meeting of the term.
各位而家要投票嘅呢，就係
We are now voting on item 763CL, integrated basement for West Kowloon Cultural District.
現在進行表決。
We now proceed to the vote. Before the voting is closed, please check your votes. Voting is closed. The results are shown. 44 present, 25 for, 13 against, 5 abstentions. Does any member request a separate voting at the Finance Committee for this item? Ms. Tanya Chen. So there would be a separate voting at the Finance Committee. I'd like to thank the government officials for attending this item. Let's move on to the next item 2. We have 5 drainage services projects. Construction of dry weather flow interceptor at Cherry Street Box Culverts. 389DS upgrading of West Kowloon and Chinwan sewerage. 393DS rehabilitation of trunk sewers in Kowloon, Shatin, and Sai Kung. 394DS upgrading of Kwun Tong preliminary treatment works, and 413DS enhancement works for Kwun Tong sewage pumping station. The paper suggests the upgrading of these projects to Category A. In other words, 380DS, 393DS, 394DS, and 413DS. And part of 389DS would be upgraded to Category 1, Category A. The total cost at money of the day prices is $3.02 billion, and the panel was consulted in February and April, and members did not object to the funding application, and a copy has been circulated with members, and the key points have been included in the report and tabled. We have a few members waiting to speak. Dr. Hayden Wong, 4 minutes. The Democratic Party supports the relevant works, especially the dry weather flow interceptor. We believe that these works can improve the quality of water at Victoria Harbour adjacent to Olympia Station and improve the odor problem. For the Drainage Services Department, Water Supplies Department, are they reusing the collected stormwater? Are they working with each other on this? And there's a major box culvert, so there would be collection of stormwater. I understand that there are illegal connections which might pollute the collected stormwater. When we look at Singapore or other places which treasure water resources, the collected water would be filtered and reused for non-potable uses. And in the case of Singapore, it can be used as potable water. So does the government have measures in place to deal with these? Mr. Wen Tong, Director, in terms of reusing stormwater at the Happy Valley pool, stormwater would be reused. For the box culverts, very often they carry pollutants. So if we are to invest in stormwater reuse, the investment will be substantial. In terms of reusing stormwater, we have to consider whether there's a stable supply of stormwater at all times. For this box culvert, during the dry season, the amount of stormwater is very little. So at suitable venues, for example, at Happy Valley, we will consider rolling out a trial partially. So in other words, there are no such facilities. can you come up with additional works in order to filter and reuse the collected stormwater? In the past, we conducted relevant studies and the investments would be substantial. If we are to reuse the water collected at box culverts, at locations in which the stormwater collected is not so polluted, for example, in Happy Valley, the cost would be lower. So at Happy Valley, some collected water would be purified for watering plants. Apart from Happy Valley, at what other locations are these facilities located? At the Lai Chi Kok Pool, part of the stormwater would be reused because that facility collects cleaner stormwater. As I said, the quantity of stormwater and the amount of pollution means that they are not suitable for reuse. Dr. Priscilla Leung, first round, 4 minutes. First of all, I'm happy. I think more dry weather flow interceptors can be installed at other box culverts. And in your reply in November 2015, an interceptor would be built in Hong Kong, and we hope that this can be extended to the entire Hong Kong. First of all, I do support this item. I understand that the funding covers several spots, including Tsuen Wan, because the odor is very serious. Apparently, there has been some improvement. But apart from these dry weather flow interceptors, misconnections at sewers are also an issue. And a lot of residents in different districts have to put up with the odor. So would you be more forward-looking? Apart from DWFIs, would you tackle the misconnections of sewers in some districts? And would you step up cleaning efforts or clearing efforts for sludge located at seabeds? Will you utilize biochemicals like Singapore to tackle this issue? I understand that this takes money. Now you're asking for about $3 billion. I think we need to put in more funds in order to facilitate long-term planning. The cleanliness of water at Victoria Harbour is crucial, so you should be more bold at the environmental committee, and we have made such calls. So you should come up with longer plans, longer-term plans. You should learn from some other countries. They managed to purify some highly polluted rivers. So I'm sure this is something the public would support.
Mr. Chen Heng-pan, I have a simple question. We've been waiting for the dry weather flow interceptors to be installed in Tsuen Wan. There are only 4. And I won't ask more questions. Let's pass this quickly. Mr. Leung Kok Hong is not here. If there's no other question, I'll put this item to the vote. With those in favor, please raise your hands. Any objection? Anyone against? Any abstention? The item is passed. I would like to thank the officials for attendance. Next item, 123 KA, a conversion of former French mission building for accommodation used by law-related organizations and related purposes. Paper PWSC 2016-17, number 46. This is to recommend the upgrading of 123 KA to Category A at an estimated cost of $234.2 million in money of day prices for the project. And the AGLS panel was consulted on the 27th of February this year. Members supported the submission of this item to the subcommittee. the report on the deliberation at the panel has already been tabled, and there we have got a list of officials in attendance. I won't introduce them one by one. Questions? No question. Now put this item to the vote. Will those in favor please raise their hands? 7. Anyone against? Abstentions? No. So the item is passed. Next, let's have the next team of government officials. Item 4. Does anyone ask for the previous item to be voted separately at the FC? 356 WF, upgrading of Tung Chung freshwater supply system. 363 WF, upgrading of disinfection facilities in water treatment works. 357 WF, design and construction for first stage of desalination plant at Chung Kwan O. Is paper PWSC 2017-18 number 7. This is about the upgrading of 356 WF and 363 WF to category A, and also the upgrading of part of 357 WF. On the money of the day's basis, the estimated cost will be $1.896 billion, actually $1.8963 billion. The government consulted the development panel on the 24th of January and the 28th of March. The salient points of the discussion have been tabled in that, and I won't introduce the officials one by one. Any questions? Mr. Chi Hoi Tik, 4 minutes. In respect of the first one, upgrading of Tung Chung freshwater supply system, under E, there is a consultancy fee under E, $3.5 million consultancy fees for advisory services for new engineering contract administration. Is it because you have adopted this a new engineering contract? That's why you need to incur this cost. If the government gradually knows how to do it, there will be no need to spend this money again. That's correct. We have introduced this NEC. Previously, this was administered by our consultants, and this is the first time we are going to administer this. Once we have learned how to do it, there will be no need to pay the consultancy fees again. On desalination plant for stage 2, can you tell us anything about this thinking, when it would go forward, the costs, and also the targeted amount of water to be supplied? We're going to do the first phase. For the second phase, we'll look at the water demand first. We have reserved some space for a phase 2 project. When are you going to start the assessment? Are you going to look into how much we have been moved forward in saving, in the conservation of water? Or are you going to complete phase 1 first? I think this is something we'll do on an ongoing basis. We'll look at the changing situation with rainwater. If there's a need, we would embark on the second phase. Any supplement? Mr. Chen Han Ben, 4 minutes. We can be very fast in scrutinizing these items. I have a question about the Tung Chung freshwater supply system. There will be a big increase in population in Tung Chung, and now you want to have a surface reservoir. I want to ask whether there's only a trunk pipe serving Tung Chung. If there's something untoward happening to that trunk pipe, then Tung Chung, the water supply, will be cut. Well, there was an incident, and we had to cut the water supply there. We've done something to prevent recurrence. Yes, There was an incident last year leading to the suspension of water supply to Tung Chung. So my question is there's only a major pipe and nothing else? My colleague can supplement, but I can say that there's one going in and one going out. So we can somehow provide some facilities to make sure that there are two alternative pipes. If one has a problem, we can supply water through the other. Mr. Young, you want to supplement? From the treatment plant, the water will be pumped up to the surface reservoir, and then through the distribution system, water is supplied to Tung Chung. There are two pipes at the surface reservoir to provide water, to supply water. If there's something, there's some problem with the one pipe, we can maintain water supply through the pipes at the surface reservoir, so supply can be said to be rather secure. I have no follow-up question. Mr. Holton Chow, fourth round, 4 minutes. At the meeting of the Development Bureau, it is said that there should be some topside development. So should the surface reservoir has a topside development to enable the public to access the space for recreational purposes. This is always allowed for our surface reservoirs. We have asked the LCSD if they would like to put some use to that area. All the locations of our surface reservoirs have been uploaded to our website, and the public can have access to the distribution and make use of the space available. We want to provide supply water in a better way, but we are still having a problem of leakage with water pipes. Although the government said in 2015 that things have been improved, still we are talking about a wastage rate of 15%, and 12% can further 12% can be attributed to inside surface. So altogether, we would lose 30% of the water that we supply. In a way, this is like dumping money into the sea. Has the WSD got any resources to replace old pipes in old districts, and also to improve the internal surface of private buildings? Have you got any measures to help old buildings deal with water leakage? Or because the pipes are pressurized, leakage is a worldwide phenomenon. We have 8,000 kilometers of water pipes. The most effective way of telling whether there's a leakage is to have different monitoring regions set up. And we are now purchasing a software to help us monitor different regions, so that we can adopt a targeted approach in dealing with leaking pipes. Do you have the map showing all the leaking pipes in Hong Kong? Why don't you replace those pipes before they become really serious? It's not that we do not replace old pipes. In the past, because of the the seriously aging pipes. We had a major replacement program, and now, relatively speaking, the pipes are not as old. So we would have a monitoring system in place for different regions, and this would be most effective in monitoring leakage. I don't agree that since water supply is done through a pressurized system, the leakage is unavoidable. I don't accept the assertion that we can accept 30% loss of water, and that's why we need to build the desalination plant. Although I support the idea of diversification and reduce our reliance on Dongjiang River water supply, but you are doing not enough. You're not doing enough, and not fast enough in the replacement of old pipes. Well, there was a major replacement program, and Dr. Wong is asking, what about the remaining pipes which should be replaced? I think we should adopt a targeted approach. We have this wide, intelligent water supply net. We know that in different groups or regions there's a leakage, and we can deal with it in a focused manner. So you replace those pipes according to your plan. They think this is normal. It's normal to lose 30% of our water through leakage. Last year we visited Singapore. They have done a lot to increase water supply. They try to collect more water and prevent leakage at the same time. Now you say that for Tongchong, if one pipe is blocked or has a problem, you can use the other pipe, the other mains, to supply water. What is the water leakage rate for Tongchong? Deputy Director? The pipes in Tongchong are new, so I believe the rate is comparatively lower. If the water leakage rate in Tongchong is low, then it shows that the problem lies with the aging, the old pipes, not with water pressure. It's not related to water pressure.
係咪咁㗎？
主席，我相信兩個都係一個影響嘅，即係水壓。
I think the two are related. High water pressure might lead to leakage, and the aging of pipes would also lead to leakage. So for the water intelligence network, we also manage water pressure on the district level. If we can lower the water pressure, then we would do so. So if the water supply can be adjusted downwards in some districts, then you would do so in order to ease the pressure on the pipes. This is correct. If you use endoscopes to have you used endoscopes to check the conditions of our pipes in Hong Kong? I think, what about the progress of WIN? We have two approaches. First of all, we would carry out monitoring on the district level or monitoring zones, and we will have about 2,000 monitoring areas in Hong Kong. And we are talking about a substantial amount of information. So we will have a software to analyze the information collected, so that we know which monitoring areas are of higher priority. Well, I visited China to see Dongjiang Water, and they said they have adopted computerization and they can monitor real-time data. So have you paid such visit? Dongjiang water is so expensive, and even the leaked water would be charged. Have you asked them about the situation? Apparently, they boast about their state of technology. WIN also adopts real-time monitoring, and at each monitoring area, we will have equipment to transmit data to our central service. So when will that happen? In 2047 or what? We are planning for the procurement of the software, so it will happen within 2 or 3 years. Next, Dr. Fernando Chang. First round, 4 minutes. Thank you. For the design and construction of the desalination plant at Changguan O for the $300 million, is there a timeline for completion? What is the total construction cost? What is the annual capacity in terms of desalination? And what is the percentage of the treatment capacity to the overall capacity of Hong Kong? Our capacity 135,000 cubic meters per day. According to our timeline, it will be completed by the end of 2021. The cost is about $9 billion. So what would be the percentage compared with the total volume of water used in Hong Kong? It would be 5%. When we proceed to the second phase, the capacity will increase by another 5%. Is there a timeline for the phase 2? We will first assess the effectiveness of phase 1. And after that, we will decide when to launch phase 2. We have no timeline at the moment. Do you plan to further study reusable water technologies, and would you adopt such technology to generate fresh water? And after the effluent is treated, they will be processed and converted into reusable water, and the recycled water would be used for flushing in Sha Tin. What is the capacity of recycled water? As I remember, in Northeast NT, our target is to save 20,000 cubic meters of water, 20 million cubic meters of water rather. Dry weather interceptors have been installed at public housing estates, and 12.5% of the estates have been installed with the interceptors. What is your timeline? When do you plan to finish installing all the interceptors at all housing estates, and how much water can be saved ultimately? I do not have the full figures, but we are constantly installing interceptors for public housing estates. We can provide further information after the meeting. When would that be completed? I have no information on hand. I'm happy to provide it after the meeting. Thank you. Mr. Leung Hong, second round, 3 minutes. You said tendering has started, and do you have the results already or not? Mr. Look, Assistant Director, we have the tendering results already, but we have to wait until the Finance Committee approves the funds before we grant the tender. So in other words, someone has been identified. We have not announced the results because we have to wait for electoral approval. Second question, at Area 137. You used 10 hectares of land to build a medium-scale desalination plant. It will supply 5% of the waters for followed by another 5% later. Where would the second plant be located? The 10% enough land has been reserved. So do you expect that the plants will supply 10% of our fresh water? So you have earmarked the water supply or the water pipes in the future. Phase 1 and 2 shares a number of facilities, including the water inlets, the pumping stations, as well as a main. So these are common facilities shared by both phases. You should make these clear. And for the water mains, they can facilitate the second stage of the plant as well. So all the facilities will be in place, right? We are just responsible for the mains, and later, when we apply for letter approval for the first stage of desalination plants, other facilities like pumping stations will wait. If we have no other questions, I will put this item to the vote. Those in favor, please raise your hands. A division is claimed. If a division is claimed, the bell has rung. So perhaps just a show of hands to save some time. Can we claim a division by a show of hands? According to the clerk, this is not allowed by the rules. If we claim a division, the bell must be rung. If we want to save time, perhaps a show of hands. So a show of hands, please. Those in favor, please raise your hands. I believe there won't be any objections. And those against, abstentions, none. The item is passed. Thank you very much. We still have time to move on to the next item. Is separate voting at the Finance Committee requested? No. We will extend the meeting by 15 minutes. Any objections? All right. Item 5794CL, the demolition of existing sewer structures at Caroline Hill Road site, Causeway Bay. And we're looking at PWSC 2016-17, number 47. The paper recommends the upgrading of 794CL to Category A at an estimated cost of $53 million in money of the day prices. The government consulted the development panel on the 28th of February, and the key points have been tabled. And from the administration, we have a list already. I won't read out their names. Mr. Eddie Chu, 4 minutes. Thank you. The government made it look like that this is a demolition project. But in effect, this is one of the few non-commercial sites in Causeway Bay would be sold off to become a shopping mall and commercial venue with a GFA of more than 1 million square feet. The residents in the area have not been consulted. This is against their will, actually. Did the government consider the fact that the building might be intact, just like the west wing of the former police station in Central, it was retained, or the former CGO. And are you going to consider the same approach on this site? how can the residents in the area take part in the decision making on the future of this site? Mr. Francis Leung, Principal Assistant Secretary. Thank you very much. At a previous development panel meeting, on behalf of the Planning Department and Development Bureau, we explained the issue. And we explained it in the development panel paper. When we planned this development, we followed the 2016 policy address recommendation to convert these site to GIC use. Mr. Chu asked whether we had such consideration, and we had holistic consideration at that time to maximize the economic effectiveness or cost effectiveness of the site. And it has been included in the paper of the development panel. He didn't answer my question. Did you do any math on this? So I'll see whether the planning department has anything to add. Mr. Austin, Mr. Joseph Austin, and we are conducting assessment on the different potential uses. We felt that demolishing the structure and replanning the site would be more effective. As for the cost estimations, we did not carry out such assessment. Mr. Chu, I do not want the discussions to end here, so I'd like to move a motion to adjourn discussion of this paper so that we have the chance to move on to other papers. According to Rule 33 of the Rules of Procedure, Ms. Eddie Chu has moved to adjourn discussion of this meeting. Mr. Chu has 3 minutes to speak. I hope that subsequent items can be discussed in the next 15 minutes, so hopefully members can support this motion to adjourn discussion for this meeting, so we won't dwell on this item today. Does any other member wish to speak? Mr. Ben Chen. Chairman, according to our procedure, well, we can get through 3 items in half an hour under normal circumstances, and now for the for item number 8, the Wotong Chui Street pedestrian walkway system. Well, I think we should not move such motions. We should allow the other items to pass. So if you have objections or comments, there's no need to adjourn discussion on that item.
Mr. Lau Kok Fan, I just want to make a simple point. There's no need to suspend suspend this. There are other projects, schools, pedestrian linkage. We don't have much time left. I hope we can manage time more efficiently. Other members? You have a minute to respond. I move this German motion in order that their wishes can be fulfilled. We want to suspend the discussion. It's not about adjournment of the meeting. And I'll put this motion moved by Mr. Chu Hoi-Tik under paragraph 33 of PWSC procedure, and that is in respect of PWSC 2016-17-14-7. The discussion should be suspended. Those in favor, please raise your hands. Do we have anyone who claims the division? Those against? Abstention? Steady. Those against?
係幾多幾多？反對，對唔住啊，係不如再舉一次啦嚇，即係大家清楚。
Let's do it again. Those in favor of Mr. Chu Hoi-tik's motion, 4. Those against, hands up, please. 5.
咁不通過嘅嚇，咁我哋繼續。
The motion is a negative. We continue with our discussion. Who would like to ask questions? No? And I'll put the item to the vote. With those in favor? Oh, you couldn't press the button? Oh, so Dr. Fernando Cheung. And then Mr. Chen Han-pan. Now, Dr. Fernando Cheung. Chairman, this item is about the demolition of some existing buildings. They were built in the 1970s. According to the paper, asbestos is used. So there's a risk here. I expect the government would adopt suitable precaution. I would like to get some information about the control of asbestos pollution during the demolition. Mrs. Lam, thank you for your question. We are going to ask our consultant to conduct an asbestos survey to ascertain the situation. And when the demolition is carried out, we would engage professional contractors who would are licensed and experienced in controlling asbestos release. For buildings built at that time, during that period, building materials may contain asbestos. We have had some experience in dealing with asbestos. We will conduct all the necessary survey, and the contractor will furnish the information to the EPD. Dr. Fernando Cheung, when you carry out the demolition, and since there is a risk associated with asbestos, are you going to inform and alert the residents and also the people passing by so as to protect them? Thank you for your follow-up question.
咁我哋咧就會係同環保署申請啦，而且咧。
We would inform the EPD when the demolition work is carried out. It will be done in an enclosed environment. And during the demolition work, there will be a air quality test. We'll monitor air quality and to make sure that it's up to the required standard. There are 4 buildings. Some are quite massive. Just visual check, we know that it's not. They are not small at buildings. I'm not sure whether you can identify where the asbestos is. If you want to do the demolition in enclosed environment, can this be done for big buildings such as this? Can you do this to prevent the release of asbestos? It will be done, definitely be done in an enclosed environment. There will be a survey conducted first. I'll defer to my project manager for details. We have conducted a very detailed survey. Some of the adhesive used for the floor tiles contain asbestos, and sometimes on the rooftop the insulating layer may also contain asbestos, and some heat insulation material that may contain some asbestos, but it's not made entirely of asbestos. And as Mr. Singh has said, we're going to remove such material in an enclosed environment, very much like we do what we do for hazardous chemicals. It's about 7:10. Do we agree that the meeting be further extended to by 15 minutes to 7:30? Oh, since there is objection, we can only extend the meeting to 7:15 only. It's a pity that this is a controversial item. We want this one to be withdrawn so that we can discuss the items which are not controversial. But so that's why Mr. Chu has moved to withdraw this one. And if not, then we have to deal with this item very seriously. And we are blocking the other items. In respect of this site at Caroline Hill Road, previously at the panel we have talked about the scale of development for a GIC and open space, because this is needed in Causeway Bay. So in terms of percentage, how much land will be used for GIC and open space? Well, we don't have that at the moment. As I've said, in 2016, the government decided to use the site for commercial uses, and we have conducted some consultation. And during the demolition phase, we continue to talk to district councillors, and also we would initiate the rezoning process. And there will be further discussions with the district council and in the town planning board. Because demolition at this stage is the most cost-effective way forward. If I don't know after demolition, well, once you're committed, you have to carry out the remaining parts, and then we may be told that only 5% will be for GIC. That would be most undesirable. As a member for for Causeway Bay and for that particular constituency, I would like to get more land for GIC. And it's likely that this item will not be approved this time. Maybe in the next legislative session, you should give us, say, a range, say 50%, 30%, or under 20% would be for the uses suggested. And apart from the district council and the town planning board, which are part of the usual procedure, will you consult the local residents as well? Well, during the consultation, it's done through the district council. That's the usual procedure. And the consultation will cover residents' representative, and also the town planning board will be involved. What about residents? he hasn't responded to that. Definitely, they will consult residents. Well, directly, not through the district council. Can you confirm that? Let's ask if the planning department has got anything to supplement. When the land is to be rezoned, there will be the gazetto of the plan, and there will be 2 months of consultation, and residents will have a chance to offer views. After collecting the views, the application would be submitted to the town planning board. The town planning board would have a chance to take on board the views expressed before making a decision on rezoning the land. So it's very inflexible. I hope before you submit an application to the town planning board, you offer a chance to directly communicate with the residents. I would like you to do this before the town planning board procedure. I think we still got some 2 minutes. We don't have sufficient time for the next member to raise questions. And since we have objection for further extension, so we cannot extend the meeting further. Dr. Lau Siu Lai. Well, I'm in favor of the adjournment proposal because this is controversial, and very scant information has to be provided by the government, so it should be withdrawn so that we can discuss other items. Because some people are concerned about the traffic implications. We have no information on the traffic impact assessment. So before the next legislative session, you should provide all these full reports to us. TIA. Preliminary EIA, reports from registered asbestos contractors, and also full reports of 3 surveys. If you do not provide the information to us, we'll keep asking questions, and these are all reports requested by the residents. So in order to ensure that the future discussion will be meaningful, please provide all those reports to us. I think we cannot continue anymore. So today we have approved 4 items, and it's expected that the 4 items will be submitted to the Finance Committee in July. One of them is about the integrated basement of WKCD. Ms. Tanya Chen asked that the item be voted separately. This is the 26th meeting within the current legislative session and the last one. And as I've said, the Finance Committee has to convene more meetings, but we cannot have more meetings. We have spent more than 73 hours in 26 meetings. It's doubled in terms of the number of meetings, but more than doubled in terms of the meeting time. I thank all members for their active participation of our deliberation, and I thank all government officials for attending today's meeting. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.